Um, I'm Jodi, and I'm an artist in residence at Tender Funerals in Port Kembla, along with my lovely friends here. And greetings. This is exciting that you've got it happening down there.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. And yes, with Malika and Jodi, I'm one of the artists in residence. And yeah, I'd like to also acknowledge our traditional owners here. We're on Darawal country, and pay my respects to all elders past and present and emerging, and to any Indigenous people joining us here today. Hi Mal.
Hi Michelle. Yes, I'm Malika. I am also an artist in residence with Tender, with the wonderful Michelle and Jodi, and we think it's marvelous that Tender is blooming outside, and that you guys down there are learning and giving back to the community as we are up here. It's a real privilege.
Yeah, I guess I might just do a little bit of an intro, and I've got some images that I can share with everybody about our project. And it kind of started with a conversation that I had with Jenny Briscoe Huff, who I'm sure you know is the general manager of Tender, amongst many other projects that she's involved with. And she said that she had an idea about involving artists in the rituals and ceremonies around funerals and bereavement, but she didn't really know what that would be. And she invited us to get together and have a conversation about what might be possible, and that was really the beginning. And so then Jenny has worked with Malika before, and she knows Jodi very well, and I guess knew their kind of capabilities and their compassion and the work that they've done with community on different levels. So it seemed like we all had a really good fit. And then we applied for some funding, which was, we were very lucky to get quite a generous grant from the Arts Council. So Create New South Wales funded us. And yeah, that kind of kicked off the project, and we didn't really know what we were going to do. So we were kind of, just feeling our way forward, and yeah, seeing what was possible. So we had quite a lot of meetings and a lot of conversations, and yeah, one thing led to another. So do you want to add anything to that, Mal or Jodi?
No, I mean, it all happened very organically. I remember sitting and having that conversation with you and Jenny around the table, and applying for the funding, and it was quite remarkable because no community organisation had actually gotten an Arts Council grant before that, I don't think, or at least not to the same degree that we had. So it showed that what we were doing really resonated with people, and that it was important for everybody that we build new practices and new rituals around death and grieving, and because, as we all know, death is inevitable, but our culture doesn't really support us in navigating those waters. So yeah, it's been an amazing organic process.
That's true. We were the first artists in residence in a funeral service, so possibly, I don't know whether that's internationally, but certainly within Australia, and hopefully not the last.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the whole time we've had kind of regular meetings, and it's always evolving how this thing works. And I think right from the start, one of Jenny's incentives was also to help artists, so not just the families, but also it's supposed to be like a two-way thing, because we all know, well, I don't know how many artists are in that beautiful big cozy shed, but it's hard to make a living from your art. So that was one of the things that Jenny also wanted to give back to the arts community, was that people would pay, not an expensive amount, but just it was worked in as a proper service, and acknowledged and paid for service, which is what we're also trying to make a natural part of life rather than just some extra thing that no one ever really needs to pay for. So yeah, that was a big part of it that still is getting worked out and still trying to get ingrained in the consciousness of the world.
Yeah, the florists seem to be doing well. They spend more money on florists than you would on your artists, but you know.
That's right.
Yeah, it's really true. There's so many costs that that people, well, there's a lot of things that people pay for as part of a service that could be, you know, different. And so to involve artists in planning a ceremony or in working with a family to create a new ritual for them, or to you know, find a way to honour their person, is really, you know, it feels like a really sensible thing, like a really kind of natural thing to do. Yet you know, often funeral services are very impersonal, and so I suppose that's part of what we're thinking, is that, you know, how do we work with people to facilitate that process?
Yeah.
Shall I jump to the slides?
Yeah.
Jump away.
I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so I'm hoping you can see that. So that's just who we are, and a little bit about us. So we did get the Create New South Wales grant, and then also a small grant from Culture Bank, which funded me to do a little side project. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. So there's a couple of things that were made possible through the grant, and one was the community choir, the Tender Community Choir, which Jodi and Malika facilitate, and I'll let them discuss that. But my role is, one of my roles is to facilitate a sewing circle, and this is part of Tender's aftercare program. And it was really small to begin with. There was just 4 of us that met once a fortnight, and it was really a space for people who were bereaved or had, you know, just needed some social support in their grieving. And it's really grown. We do workshops, we've been making various things, and yeah, so here we're making bunting for another event that's part of Tender. We've done things like shibori making and indigo dyeing. At the moment we're working on an embroidery project with sunflowers, and we're making a quilt that'll be displayed in the Tender's rooms there in Port Kembla. And then at the bottom in this image is the bunting that we made. And so each piece of bunting was made with someone in mind. So you can see those Chinese characters. That was in reference to somebody's father who'd passed away. So each flag was personalised, and at our memorial picnic, we set up a table and invited people to come and make their own flag. And what was really lovely about that was that the sewing circle was organising that. So I was able to step away and just let those the people involved work with others who'd come up to the picnic. So it's really about, you know, just giving people a supportive space, a social space, without having to make it into, it's not like a therapy session, and it's not counselling, it's just a really welcome space. And I mean, it actually has been quite difficult with the COVID restrictions. So we were meeting on Zoom once a week, because there are a couple of families who are a bit isolated and really needed that support. But we've gone back to once a fortnight now, and we actually had a picnic a couple of weeks ago, and that was the first time we'd been together. So that was that was wonderful. This was this is kind of like the culmination of our grant, which we had for about 2 years, and so there was an exhibition, and these are all cloths that I'd made using flowers donated from funeral services. So it was a project that I thought was going to be, you know, contained within a certain time period, but I'm actually still doing this work. So I was really kind of surprised to hear that a lot of funeral flowers were just thrown away. And I had done a little bit of botanical dyeing, so I thought we could invite families, if they wanted to contribute the flowers, and I started making these cloths. And they're really, they're quite amazing in that they do hold the kind of presence of those flowers. And what happened at the end of this exhibition was they all went back into the mortuary to be used in the care of people that came to tender who, you know, didn't really have any family, or who came in circumstances that were very, you know, quite traumatic. So if somebody in tender's care needed a bit of extra tenderness, then people use these, the funeral directors or the people who were doing the dressing and the caring for the body were able to use these cloths and just, you know, give them a really beautiful, yeah, just like another layer of love and compassion. So it's a really lovely thing, because families are, you know, so happy to pass these on, knowing that that those flowers that meant so much to them and their person, that could they then be used in this new ritual. This is some work. Actually, this was the first family that I worked with, and there was a person had passed away, and I worked with their daughter to create this embroidery, and it was taken from a drawing of hers. And we didn't really know what we were going to do, but, you know, just over the period of time that we sat together, she asked if she could do some stitching. So I kind of worked with her to make the embroidery, and over the time that we sat in the space together, she told me that her mother was worried, and she said, "Oh, Mum's really worried about me because I haven't cried." And, you know, we talked about that. And anyway, so her mum was washing and dressing her partner, and when she'd finished doing that, she came into the room and said to her daughter, "Well, you know, would you like to come and say goodbye?" And she was, you know, her daughter was worried about actually seeing her father. So she said she didn't want to. And then her mother suggested that we take the embroidery and use that to put it over his face. So in some ways, what she ended up doing was creating this work, or she created a pathway for her to be able to go in and spend time with her father's body. So, you know, it was quite an amazing experience, because we didn't know that's what she was going to do, and somehow she found her own way through this process. So when they left, we, you know, the funeral director and the other people that were there, you know, we were all quite amazed at what had just happened. And I thought, well, if this is the only family that I ever work with, then, you know, we've really achieved something extraordinary. So, you know, that's just sort of something that, an example of working with people that just makes you think one you really have to trust and go with, you know, a kind of intuitive process, and without being too directive, and without, you know, trying to steer something. So rather than just letting something happen. It's another family that I worked with, and it was really for the wake, and it was in the family home. And what we did was collect all of the person's belongings. She was a traveller and a great collector of all kinds of things, so sculptures and fabrics, and throughout the house the family made installations in every room and created little shrines. And what was so lovely to hear from somebody that did go to that service was that they observed afterwards that that people were standing around and saying, "Oh, I remember when we went to Fiji, and I remember when Liz bought those sculptures." So all of her, being surrounded by all of her possessions and belongings and treasured objects, it sort of invoked these conversations and memories, and it made a kind of remembering of her. So that was one. And then this was another really lovely service for a young man who had taken his life, and the family really wanted to make sure, you know, he was there, like, you know, things about his life and who he was as a person were there. So we literally packed up the car with pretty much everything that was in his room and just made this shrine. And yeah, it was really lovely. It was a very moving service because a lot of his friends got up and spoke and read poetry and sang. So again, you know, we really felt his presence in the space through all of the rituals that were created. Jodi and Malika, you sang. Did you sang at Rivers?
Rivers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was an amazing service.
Yeah, it really was. And so here's the choir. I'll hand over to you.
Yeah, well, the choir was one of the things that we put together from the grant and after our talks, and that has been a really beautiful thing, same as the sewing circle. It's, as Michelle says, it's a place, it's a welcome space, and we're all from, you know, totally different walks of life. I think everyone there has been touched by grief, pretty much. That's, yeah. It's been difficult with COVID. We haven't been able to meet now. I don't know, how long is it, Mel?
Since March.
Yeah. So that's been frustrating and disconnected. We did try to continue doing it over Zoom. We did about 4 sessions, sticking to our fortnightly routine. But with singing, with music, it's different because we have to be in sync, and it's just not possible with everyone's different computer, you know, variations and dodgy internet. So we stopped doing that because it was too frustrating. So we're just waiting for that to resume, to be able to resume. But it is a wonderful, wonderful thing. We've become quite good, haven't we, Mel, as a choir?
Yeah, we certainly have. And the songs all have such different meanings, and they bring out all these emotions in people. But I mean, that's the thing about the music, that it helps to regulate emotion.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. So we sing in harmony. Everyone suggests songs and we give them a go. Yeah, and we're looking forward to being able to keep going. And the grant enabled Mal and I to get paid a fee to come there every week, every fortnight, and do it. And same with Michelle, which is really wonderful because, you know, it's a great thing. It's a nice advancement to be able to know that you can get covered, you know, to do this kind of work. Yeah. And then now that the grant is over, what's our arrangement now? I'm trying to, anyway, we just keep doing it anyway. But yeah, looking forward to when we can do it again.
Yeah, we might, I think we have enough funding set aside to keep us going till the end of the year, and then I think we might look at a smaller amount of funding just to continue this, because it is really it's great work, and you know, people you know, with grief, as everybody knows, it comes in waves, and you know, you can have months, weeks and weeks and weeks and months where things are fine, and then you know, suddenly it kind of dips back down. So for people to know that they've got that support, it's wonderful. And I've just put up a couple of images of the choir. So one is at the exhibition where the CD launch happened, and then another one at the Palliative Care Memorial Day. So
yes, we did a CD. That was fantastic. I don't know if you guys have got a copy of that, or anyway, we need to make sure all the new tenders have that, so we will make sure about that.
Get it up online.
Yes, I can do that now. Yes, I will do that. And the other thing that the grant enabled us to do was to create a book which expresses in detail and with a lot of images everything that we've done with Tender as artists in residence. Hopefully you guys have that book, or at least the ebook, to be able to see a lot of these images are in it. And that's a great thing to be able to share with the families that come into your, you know, to wanting your service, because it shows everything that we've, you know, kind of discovered we can do to help families. Yeah. And as Michelle says, the other thing is the choir and the sewing circle, it's such a great way to help people after the funeral. Like, I don't know of any other funeral homes that help with the grief. Because, you know, we've all been through grief, and yeah, that's the hardest part. So the choir and the sewing circle has really been valuable for the soul.
Yeah. And then the choir has been able to sing at memorials to help other people in the community. We haven't sung at a funeral yet, but we've sung at various memorials for mothers and fathers, for Christmas, at old care homes. So just sort of helping the wider community as well, which has been really appreciated. Yeah. And the choir members like to be of service to others. So that's been really good.
Yeah. Yeah. With the, it's interesting, is Jodi actually designed and produced that book, which is it's a work of art in itself. So that's another talent of Jodi. She's an amazing illustrator and designer. And yeah, it'd be great if you could access a copy of that, because I'm sure you've got amazing creative people in your community, and you know, it's a great way to just involve everybody. You know, you probably got writers and poets and, you know, musicians and visual artists, or you know, textile artists or weavers, and I just think, you know, it really embeds that whole way of caring for people, if it is the whole of community rather than just going to a business, you know, to do all of that. I know that there's some really fantastic funeral services around, but there's something about Tender that's really empowering and connecting. So yeah, if there's people that are out there in your community that you think might like to be involved, I mean, that would be a really wonderful way to get them to think about what might be possible.
Absolutely. And I think one of the fundamental things at the beginning of us being involved with Tender and Jenny kind of sharing her vision with us and getting us involved to take her vision and run with it is that art and music is there to help all of us who don't have a religious background or any secular kind of, we're not affiliated with any group, or so we're just making this up as we go along, and we feel that art and music, or we know that art and music is sacred, and it does reach out of our small little world and into our hearts and souls. So for us, we're creating our own sacred space that is unique to each family and each community, and it also binds us all together without is organized religion. So it's like a whole, I know people all over the world are probably thinking the same way, but it feels like a new direction and a very, very connected way to approach funerals, is to include art and music as a real strong part of the ceremony.
I've just moved on to another image. This is something else that we made the commitment to do as part of our grant, or it was one of the projects that were underneath that proposal, and it was to have an annual gathering, and it's called Our Community Remembers. So it's a memorial gathering and a picnic at Mount Kira, which is just behind Wollongong. It's an amazing place. It's up on the escarpment, and it's in Darawal country. It is a meeting place of women, and we had the first one in 2018, and we had one last year. And generally it's on the winter solstice. So this year, obviously, we couldn't go. And we're holding, hopefully we can hold one in October, but it was such an amazing ceremony. And that was another thought, was to bring people together on an annual basis, to be able to come together and have a shared remembering. The choirs sung, we had some art activities, and also here we had Uncle G, who's a Darawal elder, who came and welcomed us to country, but also gave us a smoking ceremony for cleansing and welcoming us into that beautiful space. And so Uncle G and his family have become part of this ceremony as well.
But we're still learning with that, because we discovered through trial and error that it's important to be welcomed into the space, for everybody to remember their loved ones, and then to have the smoking to clear that afterwards, not at the beginning, but afterwards, let us all be cleared of that energy. So it's very powerful. That certainly, yeah. Everybody feels it. Everybody feels it's a very meaningful event.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the end of the slides. I'm just going to, go back to us.
Thanks for that, Michelle. That was great of you to put that together.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Thank you.
I just hope it was a good kind of overview. I mean, there's lots to talk about, because, as Jodi said, it's an evolving thing. And I mean, we've had periods where we haven't had much work with families, and then, we'll get busy. Malik is also a celebrant, so you could probably talk about that as well.
Well, I'm the singing celebrant, because I started, I've been a musician for years, so but I've wanted to be a celebrant, and I started as an artist in resident with Tender before I became a celebrant. but trying to bring that live music into the services, I mean, it's always up to the family, but most families, when they realise that it is a service that I can provide, they do take me up on that for at least one song. And then when, as much as I can, I'll bring Jodi in, and we did a service together for a woman last month, and it was just so beautiful. Just so calming to have that music, and it was a song that was really relevant to her and her partner, and you know, so they chose the song and we learnt it, and we're actually thinking that it would be lovely in the future to do a concert of all the songs that have been chosen by the families, because they're not songs that we necessarily knew or you know were meaningful to us, but then when we sing them for someone, they then become meaningful. So whether that song, and I've learned, we've sung so many songs from Pink to Pearl Jam to, you know, November Rain, Barbie Girl. But you know, so I think the songs that are the most relevant, that we get picked a lot, is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I think that, you know, people really like that, and What a Wonderful World, What a Wonderful Life, What a Wonderful World. So that's something, another project again, because that's something we can do for the greater community, where, you know, people think about, well, what songs are meaningful? And when you hear that song, you know, it takes you back to a moment in time or to a heart connection with someone. So, yeah.
I think that the one thing that is really, that I just love so much about this work is that it is continually evolving and changing, and often comes about through conversations with families, or with Jodi and Malika, or with Amy, funeral directors, or the volunteers. So, you know, it's just it's just such a great way to work, and to have that openness and trust is yeah, it's brilliant.
Sing. I didn't realize we were going to do that. Let me think.
Well, we can't sing together still, so I thought I
yeah.
could sing a bit of Flow with the Go, and that you can maybe sing We Are All in This Together, or We Will Always Remember. I'm not sure, but yeah.
But we can't do it together on here.
But we can't do it together.
Do you want to do Always Remember? Or whatever, Flow with the Go? I don't mind.
Do you want to do We Are All in This Together?
Okay, I just have
you
to
do a little bit.
Words though. I don't remember.
I'll do a bit of Flow with the Go, and you do a bit of We're All in This.
Let me find the words.
And well, actually, I mean, We Will Always Remember is a song that came to me after becoming a resident tender artist in resident, which is a 3-part song, where the bottom part is we will always remember, we will always remember in our hearts. And then there's a middle bit that goes, I'll see if I can pitch it. Breathe, breathe, it will be all right. Breathe, breathe, because of them we are. So wrong pitch for me. And then the high bit being, Jodi, do you want to do that high bit? We love you, I love you. I don't know.
It doesn't make sense if you don't hear it together. It's in 4-part harmony.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful one. We have to send you the CD.
Yeah, it's on the CD.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all on the CD.
Yes, so we write songs as well, and one of the things we also offer to families is to help them write a song for their loved one. That hasn't happened yet, but hopefully it will. So you're going to play Flow with the Go, or?
Yeah, I'll play a little bit. Just. We live, Rusty, in a world of beauty. We live chaos, spinning round, floating in flux and in flow. We flow with the go. We flow with the go. Flow with the go. Flow with the go. That's just a bit of that.
Beautiful. I know, I wish we could sing in harmony on Zoom. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all right.
Even the call and
there was
response.
another one, yeah, there was another one that I made up, which is a call and response, and it's kind of like a Gregorian chant, and we've done this a few times, and it's quite powerful. Trying to remember the words. Okay, here we go.
We are.
We are all in this together. We are all part of the one. Time and space and all within them. Mother Moon and Father Sun. Death will keep. Oh, this is where I forget the words. Sorry. It goes like that, and the choir.
Death can never keep you from us. Death can never keep you gone. Death is but a door to
freedom. Yes.
Bigger than the moon and stars. Anyway, okay, yeah.
It's on the CD.
It's on.
Which I'm going to upload to Spotify today. I'm going to do that after this.